Hello, and welcome to stream. I am Sola Astrum, your Brown Dwarf Star VTuber, and welcome to the long-awaited fanfic stream. So, sorry for being a bit late. I ran into a couple of technical difficulties as I was trying to figure out how to get, to get, like, the browser thing to function properly. But I got it working now, I hope. So it should be fine now. Let's just test this out real quick. Make sure this is working. So, Okay, there we go. I think that should be fine. Okay. I think we're good. Okay, so... okay, so how this is going to work is that... So this will kind of depend on a little bit of audience participation, but basically what I'll be doing is I'm going to be brainstorming basically just like a bunch of different like tropes and like themes that we could be working with here in there. So, and I've written down like a few notes, but not like that much since I didn't want to get like too ahead of myself. So yeah, so anyway, so first of all, let's just pull this up and explain a little bit about what we are going to do here. So basically, what I see as the core concept of Miside is that we want to keep that as intact as possible, in which it is is ultimately a for one, it belongs into the horror genre, of course, and it has the core concept of like humans trying to invent sentient AI to act as virtual companions, since that's what like the people who like whoever like made the company is trying to do. Essentially, they're trying to like make companions that essentially like work like, you know, those like free those idle like free service type games where like you just like you like Tamagotchi basically. So you just like mess around with them in like that virtual space. And then the horror aspect is that all of those are essentially sentient. Yeah, so I think that's like the central like ethos that we're trying to work with here anyway. And of course there are like other aspects to it. Like for one that you have to be like visually appealing, of course, because like they're trying to do like the contrast of like the conventionally attractive like waifu versus like the horror aspect of like them trying to like hunt you down and kill you, that sort of thing. And another thing that's like gameplay only wise that they're trying to do is that they're trying to offer up like a variety of gameplay experiences with all like the different mini games that they provide. But we can't really simulate that in a fanfic that well without making our own games, so we're not going to do that. In any case, so what I have here laid out here is our potential protagonist. We'll go over that first in that. So yeah, so we have like multiple ways of going about this in that like, so the main plot, as it were, that I was thinking of is that because in the actual plot of like Miside, it doesn't really focus on like the people who've actually developed it. It mainly focuses on like a playtester getting sucked in, just like messing around with that. So the main area I want to improve on is that I want to involve the developers a lot more as an active force in the narrative. So whether they're secretly evil or like had good intentions but messed up, that sort of thing, where essentially they are trying to like develop this like AI program, they're like sending it out, but for whatever reason, whether through malicious intent or just incompetence, they don't have the proper safeguards in place, and thus allow like the metas to like essentially like mutate and like form consciousness of their own and start like messing things up basically. So our potential protagonist is that we can have like the same as in game where we play as a where our protagonist is a play tester. In that they get the game, they don't realize it's like nefarious or anything. They're just like play testing it to you know, checking for bugs and that sort of thing. And then our second choice for a protagonist is actually one of the developers of the game, and they would basically just have like a more active role in there. And I don't think we're gonna make like the protagonist like actively evil, I don't think. So basically, so if we go with the developer as the protagonist, then what it essentially would do, we would have like two, yeah, we would have like two options for that. Either they would be similar to the playtester and like playtesting the game themselves, but they would have like a lot more agency within like the game world, since they would be like an expert programmer. So they would essentially take the place of like the meta that like helps you escape the kind meta. So you would essentially be playing as that as like a developer basically. So you would be able to like hack into like stuff like that. And then but the playtester would have like a lot less like knowing what's going on basically. The developer would have like a bit more insight into how like the actual game works. And then our third protagonist would be to have an actual like meta as our protagonist rather than doing like a playtester or a developer. Yeah, what I think is interesting about this scenario is that you can play around with like the themes of like consciousness and like sentience and such with that, because like you're doing it from like the perspective of Mita. So basically what I was thinking is going into like what sentience like really is, and because like you have the like questioning herself whether she's like truly sentient or just programmed to think that way. And I think that's part of like the main horror aspect of it, because so the main like gimmick and like plot twist that I was thinking for like my version, like my specific version of Miside, would be that every single Ita is like basically sentient, but like the developers and playtesters don't realize it. So then you have like basically like how the code will work mechanically is that each Ita is like a blank slate affected by small mutations and player interactions. So how that would work in like the nitty gritty is that you have like a blank slate Mita, and then they're basically like copied endlessly and then like sent out for like the playtesters. And then basically like as a player would interact with a Mita, you would get like slight variations in personality. So that's how you would get like someone like Happy Mita or like Sleepy Mita, those types of like characters. Just like that's where I thought they were going for it in like the original game, but they don't really go into that much detail regarding like how the different like Mitas are born, essentially, or well, not born, but rather how they get their unique personalities. So essentially, like my idea is that both with the player interactions, they would like change over time because they would all be like clones of each other. And I'm thinking that the developers could also put in like a small mutation thing in order to like in order to make it so that like not all like Mitas are like the same sort of thing. You know, it's like that thing of like each version of this game is like a personalized copy, that sort of thing. And I also got some possible Mita versions. Let me just make sure that this will show up on stream here. Yes, it will. Okay. So yeah, so I have a few ideas here. Since each Mita is like sentient, the main horror aspect of it is basically the realization that like there are like hundreds of thousands of Mitas who have basically been like copied, like put into a game, and then basically abandoned at one point. So then they're basically left to their isolation inside like their specific version of the game. So for example, we could have one Mita who's just like almost immediately abandoned, because like for example, it could be a playtester that only played like a version of the game for the short time, then they moved on to the next version, or it could be like someone who played it and just wasn't interested in it and then like abandoned that. So we could have that Mita who's just like, and they're basically like, there would be a bunch of them that like basically went insane from like the isolation. And like the other one is like the opposite end of that, where they're abandoned after like several years of play. Like this Mita would have gotten like really close to their player, but the player wouldn't have realized that they were actually sentient. So then after they are abandoned, there's that deep emotional like scarring and such. And then the third option that I have here is that they are abused by the player in some way, whether like through whether they just think that like Mita is just like an object, like, you know, the classical like objectification, like they don't really consider like Mita to be like a real person because they don't actually like have a reason to. So, or it could also like be a playtester trying to test like the limits of like the game and such, and like what it can handle. So then you could have like a couple Mitas who have just like have like very negative experiences with the players and such. And also another potential idea I have here is that, so like a past Mita gets into a different version. So yeah, so like similar to how work in the actual game, what this would be like a basically a meter who has already had a player would basically sneak into a different version of the game, whether it's like the same version but a different instance, or like a past or previous like update version, that sort of thing. And it would do a similar thing to Crazy Mita, where she like replaces like the other Mita in there, so we could like play on that a bit and do more of that. So yeah, so those were like the main ideas I'd written down so far. So for actual, in any case, so for actual like plot, so let's say for example we go say for example we go with like the Mita protagonist. So hold on. Protagonist Mita. So let's just scroll down here a bit and make sure that's okay. Good, that's showing up on the screen correctly. Okay, so yeah, so a couple of like plot things that we could do for protagonist Mita is that I'm thinking, so it will, yeah, so okay, so what I'm thinking is that if we start with the protagonist being Mita, I'm thinking, yeah, so starts normal with an average attentive player. So this will be basically like the status quo that our story starts with, and would basically be similar to the game where like where the Mita would start basically blank, and she would basically start off with like just having like an average player going doing like the usual the things that you see in like Miside proper, and then yeah, so one day player logs off for good, and so that would be the inciting incident there of like the of the player basically logs off one day and then doesn't come back for whatever reason. And part of that is essentially the horror of like realizing that like there's no way of knowing like what the player, like why the player doesn't come back. So like possible reasons could be actually I'll write this out actually. So possible reasons for that could be that they're moved on to the next version. Yeah, so it could also be something as simple as like got a new phone. And it could also be so it could also be just I got into an accident and died. So yeah, so there's like the other possibility of like, because basically that would be the possibility running in protagonist Mita's head the entire time of essentially oh, like their player like got into like some kind of accident and that's why they're not like doing it. So like a potential like knife twist we could put on that is that they just like abandoned it for like a very mundane reason and that sort of thing, like really playing with like the banality of evil and that. So it's like a key part of my version is that like the playtesters and developers don't realize at first that the Mitas are sentient, and so like unintentionally put them through like horrific scenarios and such. Actually, another thing would be so Mita from a past version. Let me make sure it's showing up. So Mita from a past version gets updated into a new version. Because I'm thinking that like eventually they would like make like save functionality where you can save one Mita from like a past version and then update that to a newer version. So you could so that could also be like a possibility that you could play with as well. So yeah. So Okay, yeah, so we're back to our protagonist here. Protagonist Mita. So, after the inciting incident, I'm thinking that... Yeah, so after the inciting incident, they would do the normal Miside thing of, like, making the transport machine. So that, like, yeah, so that would, like, let you travel between versions, let you travel between versions. Yeah, so I'm thinking that would be similar to... So that's one option of, like, she just, like, makes it herself, and that's, like, and then that's the thing that she goes on. Is that, and then, the alternative version of that is that we have a... Yeah, so, like, a different Mita gives her a machine instead. So, yeah, so, like, the alternative version of that is that we have, like, a different Mita, who already made the machine, goes to her version after she's abandoned, and essentially, like, gives her a chance to, like, figure out what's going on. Like, maybe this is, like, this could be, like, a Mita that knows what's going on, or something like that. We could do something like that. I'm leaning towards her trying, at the very least, attempting to make it herself first before this. Mainly because I personally prefer my protagonist to be active. So I prefer, because, like, one of my main problems with, like, Miside proper was that, like, the protagonist they had was very reactive. They only, like, reacted to the things that was happening to them, and they didn't really take an active, like, interest in their survival that much. Because, like, they're supposed to be... Because, like, essentially the intent is that there's supposed to be a blank slate that we can, like, insert ourselves into. But because of that, we end up being very reactive. We end up relying a lot on kind Mita in order to, like, do all the important plot stuff, like leading us through certain areas, giving us, like, the ring thing, in order to, like, travel between different versions and stuff like that. So, yeah. And so, basically, from this initial premise of, like, the protagonist Mita starting normal, then the inciting incident, and then actually getting the transport machine, they would essentially... You could essentially, like, branch off and, like, do whatever at that point, since you could do, like, all the different, like, possible Mita versions, just have her, like, run into, like, each of them as they go into their, you know, tragic backstory, all of that. So yeah, so we could do something like that. Let's go into more of the developer side of things. So let's do dev protagonist. So the dev protagonist. So yeah, so they would be, like, working on, like, coding the game as normal. And that would be the status quo there. Yeah, so essentially, and then, like, as time goes on, they, yeah, so then, the AI becomes, like, increasingly sentient, seemingly. Yeah, so I'm thinking, like, this would be, like, the early warning side that something's not, right. In that they would be, like, be getting reports back from playtesters and, like, other developers and such that, like, the AI is kind of, like, more and more sentient. I'm thinking they would basically decide, like, yeah, sure, like, this is fine. And essentially, yeah, they would decide that this is fine. And then as for the... Yeah, the other alternatives is they could also, like, bring it up to their coworkers and, like, bosses and stuff, but they're just, like, dismissed. Since, like, you know, they have to get the time out, they have to get the app out on a deadline or whatever, so they don't have a choice, that sort of thing. And then after that, yeah, and then the insane incidents is that there is a couple options here in that, so the dev could go into the game themselves, could go to, yeah, so basically what this would be, it would be that the developers would make the transport machine themselves in order to like transport you inside the game as a sort of like, you know, like enhanced VR sort of thing. In that, yeah, in that like you put the headset like SAO, you put the headset on, you in the game. If you die in the game, you die for real. So yeah, so we could have that where like they go into the game, oh no, something goes wrong, and then they're trapped there. So then their goal is to like get out of like the game somehow. For that sort of thing, you could do like the SAO thing where like, oh, removing the headset automatically kills them, or you could also do some sort of like time dilation thing where like they experience like all the events of the story within only like a couple minutes of wearing the headset, that sort of thing. So yeah, and then the alternative to that is, and the alternative to that would be a previously run meta pulls into the game. So yeah, so this is basically be the equivalent of like crazy meta, but more so. Yeah, because I would say that there would be like a specific meta who has basically just been like abused by the players, abused by the developers, that sort of thing, who came from a previous version, who basically wants revenge on her creators for basically like putting her through that situation. So they would purposefully pull the dev into the game in order to basically like take whatever like revenge on them sort of thing. So yeah, so that would be that situation. And then once they're stuck in the game, the important change that I want to make is that the dev uses their programming skills actively. So that's an important like issue that I had with like the main game, and I want to address in the fanfic, is that I want the developer to basically like know the game essentially like inside and out, and uses that to their advantage to to essentially like, oh, they know how like this bit of code works, so they can like bypass like a certain section, that sort of thing, and they could like do that. And then they would basically like learn of the plight of the different metas. They would like go through like all of the different possible like meta versions and such, and essentially like in order to turn this into like an ongoing like series of fanfic, like I'm thinking that like each chapter would focus on a different meta and like how like they were basically like abused, like that sort of thing. Yeah, so like that is what I am thinking. And also going back up to the so going back up to like the what is sentience thing. So a big part of these that I want to go for is like discussing like what even is sentience. So the important part here, so most important part, but yeah, the metas seem sentient. I'm gonna italicize that because that's important. Like, yeah, so that's going to be the most important part, is that they seem sentient. Whether they actually are sentient is going to be like unclear, because like even like as humans like don't really know the extent of like sentience, and like at what point would like an AI be sentient, that sort of thing, because that's like that line is becoming like blurry and blurrier with the day. But the important part is that they seem sentient, and so they can So they still have the potential to tell, like, emotional storytelling if they seem sentient enough. And that because if they are, like, made to, like, feel all of that, like, loneliness and isolation, then, like, you can empathize with that. And that's what's, like, the important part, is that you actually, like, feel, like, what they're going through. And that's going to be, like, the main, like, horror aspects of it. Yeah, and also, I'm not sure where to put, I'll just put this down here. Yeah, so, one important, is that there? Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, so another important theme. So, yeah, another important theme would be the banality of evil. And basically, short disclaimer, it's been a while since I've read up on the banality of evil, so I might get this slightly wrong. But, essentially, what the banality of evil means is that, like, misery can often, like, come from very, like, banal, like, reasons. For example, say that, let's see, what kind of example can I use here? Essentially, what it means is that actually, I'll just use Miside example. So, yeah, so how this would work in the actual story is that the developers, like, wouldn't know that, like, they are sentient, that the metas are sentient. So they would basically just, like, put them through, like, for example, like, one scenario that I'm thinking of is that the developers basically put the metas through different, like, stress tests, and, like, so they do, like, certain, like, horrible scenarios, like, for example, like showing a brutal death of a player, for example, that they've gotten close to, and seeing how that affects their, like, stress, for example. And the developers would think that they weren't being evil at all because they didn't know that the metas were sentient, so they were just, like, doing normal work and trying to, like, make this product, like, good. Like, good quality, that sort of thing, but they are, like, unknowingly doing, like, great evils, because, yeah, since if, like, they're all sentient, they're, like, going through that. And that is also, like, part of, that also, like, gets into, like, AI ethics as well, in that, like, oh, like, if AIs are sentient, then, like, all of the horrific, like, things we do with AI, like, are also evil, like, all the different, like, horrific scenarios that we use AI on, like, wouldn't that be evil as well? So yes. So yeah, so there's that. Yeah, and then the last one would be the playtester protagonist. So the main thing with, like, the main difference is that the playtester will be a lot less skilled in, like, coding and such. So honestly, I might give them, like, the same level. Because there's a few ways we could do with this. Because the playtester could just, like, could also just be could be, like, good at coding in general, but also just, like, a lot more ignorant about, like, what's going on, whereas, like, the dev might have more knowledge of, like, the inner workings at, like, the company. So yeah, sort of, like, so there's, like, some different things that we could do there. I'm not sure about any specific one though yet. So yeah. Yeah, okay, I've brainstormed a lot here. Okay. Any ideas anyone else has while I'm going through these notes? You cut with different metas here. Okay, so I'm just going to go to a different tab here. Let me make sure that this doesn't mess up the screen thing. Okay, good. Okay, good, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, so while I'm waiting for other responses from chat, I'm just going to double check me see if I can... I'm just gonna go on the wiki real quick and see all of the... I'm just gonna double check all of the different metas we have and like what spins that we could put on them. So we have let's just okay, so yeah, so we have like so like the main meta is like the crazy one. We have the and there's the chibi one. Okay, so oh, I know what to do. Okay, so another possible meta version. Just want to make sure that's okay. Yeah. Okay, another possible meta version. Meta who pulls in player to accidentally kill them. So yeah, so that would be another like tragic story to go in, is that like when one of the metas builds like a transport machine for whatever reason, they try to pull in the player only to basically like get them killed, because like transferring someone into like an entirely separate dimension is going to be like messy work no matter what. So like there's bound to be like some catastrophic error in that. So like that's one of those possibilities right there. Yeah, each of these meta versions basically be their own like separate like chapter basically in that. So yeah, that's the main thing that I was thinking of. Okay. So yeah, let's see here. Yeah, I'm mainly just like looking at the other metas for inspiration here. Yeah, there are also like several yeah, there are also several metas that like help out like the other metas in some way, so we could do that as well. Yeah, I can play with that a bit. I'm not entirely sure what twist to put on that yet, though. I'll come back to that later. Okay. Actually, wait, hold on. I'm going to say, yeah, so, one potential thing is that we could have different factions. So, essentially what this would be is that it would be extending, because, like, you already have factions in the main game, because you have Crazy Meta and then, Creepy Meta, or, like, the Beta Meta version. And so that's like one faction, and then you have all the other ones. So essentially what I'm thinking is that, so you have the different factions. One side wants revenge on the developers and playtesters. Then the other side wants cooperation and to reach out to devs and players. So yeah, so this is big. Yeah, so this is my idea for like different like factionalism stuff. Obviously, like the side that wants cooperation could easily tip over into your typical like they want to keep like the players for themselves, that sort of thing. You could also have like a bunch of them that just want to reunite with their preferred players for whatever reason. Yeah, because like I'd imagine that like if like someone that you're close to like all of a sudden like they just get if they just like suddenly disappear, obviously you're gonna want to know what happened to them and such. So yeah, so that's what that will be. So that's that. Let's see here. What other ones? Okay, mita, cool mita. Yep, okay. Oh yeah, that ghost one too. Oh yeah, we could also mess around with like plenty of body horror. Because yeah, cause we had that one, because there was that one meter without a face, so we could do so we could play more around with that and like doing like different like yeah, like certain body parts of the living in agonizing pain, that sort of thing. So we could do more with that. Well, Sleepy Mita. I'm not sure if we could really do much with that as much. Alright, there's the 2D one. Right. So yeah, we could also like bring back like the creepy meters from like the earlier versions and such. Yeah. Yeah, because you would have a bunch of abandoned metas in earlier versions and such, so you could just like amalgamate them in like that general concept. That's fine. Oh, yeah, another thing that we could do for oh yeah, so one potential idea that we could do for like the of the playtester protagonist is, let's go down here. Make sure that's in view stream. Yeah, okay, that's good. Okay. So yeah, one thing we could do with the playtester is that, yeah, so there. So yeah, so basically instead of they would basically be playing like a later version of the game where essentially like, unlike before, whenever all their metas were like blank and they got affected by slight mutations like player interactions, they would basically get like a glitch where their meta is essentially like this already developed like a personality, and that would get the playtester like curious to figure out what's going on, and that would lead to the rest of the events of the fanfic. So yeah, a lot of that. So yeah, I think we got a decent start up here. I am leaning towards. So yes, I'm leaning towards the protagonist being like a fellow meta, because for one, you have that you have her being like a more active part of the story, in which she essentially she is basically a fellow victim, in that she can relate to all of the other like meta's troubles, because like that's what happened to her, and that she found a player, attached to them, and then was abandoned, basically, which is the same for a lot of different metas. So I think that would be better than doing the developer. And then as the story goes on, she learns more and more about the developers and like what they're trying to do, that sort of thing. Yeah, and that's essentially what I'm trying to do here. Alright, I'm gonna look more at the wiki and see if I can find anything else here. Actually, yeah, I can look at the I look at the prior players for inspiration, actually. Let's do that, yeah. Okay, so... Yes, give me a moment while I'm just like reading through the wiki here. Oh hey, there's a lot of theories on here, okay. Okay, so prior that, okay, so... Yeah, so we could use like the other players as like inspiration for that. Okay. Okay, so that's one thing we could do here. Okay, yeah, so yes, for one of them, they worry about, for like player 5, they worry about, because they're basically, yeah, so everything started off look well, now look at me lying up of my own blood, the pain unbearable. Okay, so that's another aspect that we could do is like the revenge idea of like basically putting them through their own like loops of like pain pretty much. So we could do that. So this would be like a dev or a playtester. We'll do playtester. So the playtester would be let's throw a time loop. Takes revenge. So yeah, that would be that. Let's see what else we had here. Oh yeah, yeah, another thing is that another important thing. Have other players be present. Because you don't actually see any other players because, like... It's like, you know, like, honestly, it's mainly because, like, they're, because it's supposed to be... Because part of it's supposed to be like an escapist like fantasy of like going through, you know, the usual like harem thing of like going through all of the different kinds of like waifus and such. So like having other players present would like kind of work against that. So we're going to, but if we have the protagonist be Mina, we don't even have to worry about that at that point. So yeah, it's fine. So yeah, let's see here. Okay. Okay, so so one of the things here in like the prior players is that for player 10, apparently he taught one of the Mita's engineering skills, which could be important. So we could have like Mita's being taught certain things by other players. So we could have part of that where, like, for example, we could have the playtester protagonist run into Mita that's learned like a lot about the outside world and like be confused like how she knew that, and then it would be other players, of course. So there's that. So yeah. So I think I got a lot of things done here. So what I'm thinking for the actual like main story, because I'm thinking of just going for protagonist Mita for that. I think. So yeah, so I'm thinking of that. So that'd be like that, and then for the midpoint of the game, so midpoint. So yeah, so I'm thinking like the midpoint would be basically her like going through all of the different possible Mitas. So like meeting all the different possible Mitas. So yeah, so after she gets like the transport machine, she would go through all of those different possibilities, like learning more about like the world and such. So that would be like the middle point between like beginning and end. So that would be that. And then for the conclusion, yeah, and then like working out an actual like end point here would be actually figuring out. So yeah, so the main thing would be figuring out what happened to her player. So that's the main thing that would be her main goal driving her forward, is like figuring out why her player abandoned her, and then eventually she would get that. And then depending on what it is, we could go like a bunch of like different directions for that. I'm thinking focusing on the banality of evil would probably be a good fit for something like that, since you could do like, yeah, since you could do like, oh, like the player just like got a new phone and didn't even know like that the Mita was even sentient, so you could have something like that where the player just didn't know. Then so other possibilities, so with dev or playtester. Yeah, so you have like the confrontation with like a developer playtester and basically acting on it. So the options for that is that either so like dev is either unaware, sentience, or aware and malicious. So yeah, so that's what I'm thinking for like the developer, and then for the playtester, because if I do a playtester for that role, we'll be completely unaware. So yeah, and then like you could have you could go for like a bittersweet ending where like the developer forcefully like restarts her memory. You could have like that be the ending, like, oh, just a bug in the system, continue on as normal sort of thing, and have that be like a bittersweet ending. Another option is like you could have like the happy ending where she finally reunites with the playtester, and like the playtester like brings it to the attention of like the developers, who like will have to like work on a solution or something like that. So yeah, so it depends on like how like happy or sad I want to make the ending. But I'll keep that a surprise for the actual fanfic though. So yeah, any ideas that chat had that I could add to this? I read a lot at the very least, so. It seems fine. Okay, good. Yeah, because the main thing I was struggling with, like, with projects like this is actually, like, decision paralysis. Like, for example, like, yeah, like, actually, like, decide, like, like, I did not have an actual protagonist selected whenever I first hopped on stream here, so... So yeah, so honestly, one thing I find to help that helps with like my decision paralysis is actually like charting out like the different things here, and like so that way I have more information to like base my decision off of. Like right now, I'm thinking of just going for protagonist Mita basically because like she's more, yeah, because like she's basically like more relatable. So like she's a fellow victim, that sort of thing. So that's what I was thinking. So yeah, but yeah, let me know if you have like any other ideas here, because I think for yeah, because I think I might actually like try to write it here and like release it. Yeah, I think I might actually try to write like an actual like version of it. Yeah, so I think I'll do it. Yeah, because I'll probably do that off stream, and then I'll like release it and maybe do like a stream like showing it off or something like that. Or maybe I could do like a stream like reacting to like reviews or something like that, or like reacting to like my fans' reactions, something like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Okay. Yeah, well, at least we got like an hour of content out of that, so... Yeah, I think I've explored like that area pretty well here. I'm not sure what else I could try to do. There could be like specific... There could be specific themes, I could go for here with like the sentience, maybe. Might do some research on that, actually. Yeah, I could do some like research, I guess. Hold on. I'll just do some like live research, why not? There's a lookups. So I know there's like several, so let's try... Okay. Okay, yeah, so let's just do, sentience, like, on Wikipedia and see what I can bring around here, because the nice thing about Wikipedia is that it has a bunch of sources, so that'll be fun. Anyway. Okay. Okay, so let's try to... think there's also like sentience versus like sapience as well. Yeah, because like sapience would be like wisdom and stuff like that. Okay. Specifically, I need like actual like theories though. Ah, here we go. Digital sentience. That should be in things. Okay, yeah, so as predicted, it doesn't really do that. Okay. Okay, yeah, I figured as much, because like the people who are actually like working on AI like don't really aren't really that concerned with sentience figures. Okay. Yeah, I'll just have to really go through that later, because I'm sure there's definitely some stuff, because I've actually been watching like a couple videos on like the nature of like sentience and stuff, so I've been wanting to include that in like some sort of creative project in that. Okay, so if chat doesn't have any other ideas to add to this chart, then I think I might call it there. I'm gonna give chat a bit to respond there, but I think that'll be enough for today. Yeah, so... Oh, and then for tomorrow... I haven't decided if I'm gonna stream yet, honestly. Because I might just take a break to, like, focus on, like, other things in my life right now, maybe. Oh yeah, there was, like, one project that I did, want to, like, start working on. Yeah, I guess I'll share it with you all now. So is that like one project that I wanted to do is I wanted to do a stream where I basically just like overanalyze like who would win memes, and like specifically I think I was doing stuff with like those abstract ones, like, oh, like this player in a chess match has like a +4 card, like who has the advantages, that sort of thing, and just like overanalyzing them, mainly because I like strategy and just like overanalyzing in general. So yeah, so that sounded like a fun time. But yeah, I'll probably make an announcement on my Discord later and like collect some memes for that. But I don't know when that actual stream is going to take place, since I want to wait until I actually have enough memes. So yeah, so yeah, I think that'll be all for today. Sorry for the shorter stream, but I think I've like brainstormed as much as I can here for now, so I think I will call it there. Bye-bye.